Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode from the BI Guruji series. My name is Rashmita, and I am the event planner for Microsoft Reactor India. This session will run over the next 60 minutes, including Q&A. But before we begin, please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat section will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. I would now like to welcome Swam, our speaker for today's session. Swam is working at Microsoft as program manager. She has 13 plus years of experience, specialized on a wide breadth of MSBI technologies with Power BI right from her initial days. Prior to Microsoft, she was leading the Power BI COE team. But for now, I will hand over to Swam to begin the session. Let me bring her into the stream. There you go. And over to you, Swam.
Hey, hi. Thank you, Rashmita. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are joining. Thanks for attending this session. And I just want to confirm with Rashmita if I am audible enough. Rashmita, am I good?
Yes, you are good. Your presentation is up. And yeah, over
Super.
to you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So, okay, good. I'm very excited for today's session. This is, I think, my third session on optimizing Power BI. I share short 1 hour sessions on Power BI report performance, how to measure them, what are the best practices, etc. And I remember doing my last session, and DAX Studio was a popular topic that was everybody wanted to know about. I come across with many of the users in Power BI who actually want to know more about DAX Studio or have even not heard about it. That's why I thought, why not pick up this topic? So what are we going to do today is cover the basics of DAX Studio, maybe come around next time again with the second part where we deep dive into measuring performance. I'm quite sure the session would be very, very useful to you. Okay. As Rashmita mentioned, I am the program manager in Microsoft in the Fabric Cat team. I've been working here since last 1.5 years now, and it's a superb journey. Okay. Okay, let's start. Good. So about DAX Studio, DAX Studio is an external tool. It's nothing to do with Microsoft, but uses Microsoft Power BI for detecting and diagnosing report performances, query performances, etc. Now, this has been developed. One of the developers of DAX Studio is Darren Gosbell, who is also part of the Fabric Cat team and is one of my favorite colleagues. He has put up all the documentation and all the related DAX Studio installers in the official site. You would see that here, and let me open that for you. And I'm hoping that it will come here. Yes. There you go. So this is DAX Studio, and you would see there are documentations available, downloads where you can download the latest exe file. Till now, I have seen almost every other organization using DAX Studio for all kind of query optimization, more model tuning, queries, etc. Right? So let's get back into the presentation, which is not much. I want to highlight that DAX is a very interesting language to learn. do have an idea of what DAX is, and the popular reads are this book, which is one of my favorite. Go to sqlbi.com, where they have examples. Marco Russo and Alberto Ferrari puts up regular blogs, and of course, do not miss the Intro to DAX uh, training paths from Microsoft, right? For DAX Studio, I would suggest you to go to the two videos, and I'm going to show it to you soon. Yep, and after that, let's not go into any of the slides. Let's just move on to my desktop. So I'm stopping my presentation mode. Let's look at. Okay. Good. So this is the introduction to DAX Studio video, which I've also already mentioned in my slide. I will share this with you at the end so that you can have a look. This is the second part of it, how to do model performance in DAX Studio, and we'll touch base a little bit about that today. And this is the training part for DAX, for learning DAX in Microsoft Learn, right? There's also a video from Cube, one of the most famous Power BI guys. So go through it. They're done full of information out there, right? Good. Now, I believe you might or might not have installed DAX Studio already and may know a little bit about it, but let's start from the scratch, right? Now, DAX Studio can be opened either from Power BI. So I have a Power BI report, and if I go to something called as external tools, you would see that I already have installed DAX Studio Tabular Editor, Tabular Editor 3. So it automatically detects whether I have installation done, and it will show it. The moment you click here, it opens an instance of DAX Studio in your PC. Good. No doubt you can open DAX Studio from your just from the installer itself, and you can go ahead, right? So good. So if you've noticed, I did click on this DAX Studio, and it had automatically connected me to the model. But I would like to show it to you again. So once we open DAX Studio, say File, New, and it will try to connect to your local models like Power BI SSTT model. So it will detect all the local models that I have opened. I have opened two models for this session. And of course, it can connect to Tabular Server. When it mentions Tabular Server, it means Power BI reports or Power BI data sets which are in Power BI Service. Now, Power BI Service, it can connect to only those data sets which have XMLA read-write, read capability at least. So you need to have that permission to that data set. And once you have, you can just put the workspace connection name and then connect to it, right? For now, we'll connect to the local desktop model, which is Cardoso demo, right? The moment I connect to it, you would see the query pane opening. You would see this is the metadata pane where you can see all your DAX measures that's written, your tables, dimension tables, fact tables, etc. And there are some local date tables. We talk about that a bit later. Okay, this is the utility pane. As usual, at the top, you can run queries, clear cache on run. You can format query, the DAX formatter. You can comment, uncomment. You can load performance data, and we are going to look at it today. You can also have a look at the queries that's running and connect to other databases. We'll look at some of them as we proceed. Okay, good. Perfect. So let's start with writing some DAX queries, right? Okay, so this is very interesting. And yeah. Okay. So to start with, every DAX query in DAX Studio would have to be written through evaluate. So let's say evaluate Tim channel, and I can drag and drop similar to how I can do in SSMS. I hope you know SSMS. If not, don't bother, don't worry. It's you can click and drag and just run. Okay, so I have 4 channels. You can see my results here. You can see history of whatever I have run today. But the results are here. So let's run another one, and you can see the IntelliSense working, right? So you don't even have to write the whole sentence. And the moment you don't want to drag and drop, don't want to touch your mouse, you can just uh, um, uh, use IntelliSense available, right? Perfect. So let's run. Okay, perfect. They are doing fine. Okay, let's run a little bit more. Right now, let's run a little bit more complex query maybe. And so what else should we run? Maybe we can filter a table. So I want to calculate table, and I want geography, and want to say again in geography. Let's filter which table, column name. Okay, let's first bracket start, and it gives me all the column names, right? So I want to have a region, country, and I want to say sorry, it should be United. And the
Um,
moment there is a
Swam,
bracket, you will see. Yes.
so I'm sorry to disturb. Would you be able to zoom your screen a bit? Because I think there are people who can't actually see what you're writing. So
Okay, I will try to. Is it okay?
I
Yeah.
think this
Thanks for
should be
pointing
better.
that out.
Yeah. Thank you, Swam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super, Maggie, no problem. Super. So, okay. So, and I'll show the last step. This bracket intelligence tool. So it recognizes the brackets. There's also, you can do comma debugs, because while writing complex DAX, we tend to miss commas and brackets. DAX Studio is clever enough to detect some of them and help you out there, right? Good. Let's run this. Perfect. And the data is coming in for United States, right? Now, what's next? So let's use something different. Let's define a measure. What do you say? So we define a measure, and I would like to not write so that we don't lose time. I will just copy and paste one of my so what I'm done here is I'm defining a measure which says, okay, total sales amount, which is the sum of the sales amount. As simple as that. And I write evaluate. I want month and year along with the total amount, which is my sales amount, right? So I write this and I run everything, right? January 2007 to December 2009. All the values come in, right? So you can write any number of queries here. I'll show you an interesting thing. There's something called as parameterize. Let's do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy a code and write here where I'm saying evaluate, filter the product master table where the color name is at the rate color now. At the rate color is my parameter here. But what exactly should be the value? Let's run it and check if it's running at all or not. The moment I run, DAX Studio pops up with a dialog box saying, oh, okay, you forgot to give the parameter value. Can you give it here? Yes. The moment I say red, it shows me all the red values. So why I'm doing that? In some of the cases, you will see you would want to check how much data, maybe say red color products are, how many data for black color products are, etc. And I'm just stating in very simple terms. Remember, there might be complex codes, and there can be n number of parameters that you would like to change every time you test it. This is one of the best way to test queries, right? Parameterize and keep changing every time you run, right? Makes sense. Super. Okay. Let's copy the connection. Let's create another query, and I will show you another thing. So So I've created a copy connection from here. You would see, open a new query window using the current connection, the same connection. And now I will use Query Builder actually to create a query. It's again a drag drop interface where you don't need to write. Your queries would be automatically built. Let's check it out. So I am using region country, and I would like to use my brand name as my measure. So what measure should I use? Sales amount, which is fine. Good. And do I filter by something? I don't think I would like to filter. Let's see if I have order by. Yeah, and then I update. The moment I do it, the query is created by me. See, you don't need to write even any query. Okay, right. Let's run this. Okay. So, oh, perfect. This is perfect. So I have the sales amount already. Why not I'll do something. So I will copy this measure from my previous query and just all paste it here. Why is this not going? Okay, so let's see if it comes in. Okay, I of course have to include something called as new sales amounts, let's say, and say, okay, what is it exactly? So I have my measure. So I've added a measure and I have included in my current query. So, and I run it. Yes, it comes in. So it comes the same value, but this comes with formatting and this doesn't. Essay. So you can format it anyways, by the way. So good. So what I've done currently is I've written some queries. I have written some queries where there's filters involved, there are measures involved, and I've also shown you how to use Query Builder, right? Let's go into some of the other things here. So if you see here, all my queries are being logged. Yes. So every time you run a query, it will show the number of rows in the history, the amount of time that it has taken to actually respond or bring the results in, etc. And of course, the queries too. This is a very useful way to get an idea of what exactly you are doing for the while development. So you can do all your developments here, isn't it? Right. Now, once I have the results here, what I can also do is I can export, right? I can copy the headers, and what I can do is, let me just open Excel for you and show it. So I've copied it with headers, and it's taking some time, but I'll show it to you. Okay, what else? I will show how DAX formatting works. So this is my define, and this is not formatted at all, right? My previous query was not formatted at all. Let's format it. I'll just click on the format query and automatically formats it for me, right? This section automatically formatted. If you want to comment, let's comment this these two rows. So if you want everything to put in uppercase or lowercase, everything works, right? So this is very useful tool, as you can see already, right? Good. Hoping my Excel has opened. Yes, it has. And I've copied with the headers, and I'll just paste it here. I have talked to Darren, and he mentioned that he could. There was not much limitation to how much you can export. I'm quite sure one of you would have this question. I have exported almost 1 million rows. I won't try more because it's futile. Let's do it in different ways. Of why not use Fabric? I would say, but let's not export more in a huge amount of rows from DAX Studio. It just shuts down my hands, my PC. So yeah, but yeah, you can always export some amount of data to check, to cross verify with your business users whether the data or the values that you have created, the measures that you have created are correct or not. Right? Makes sense. Good. Let's move on to the second part, which will be take me to this report. Okay, now this is my Contoso demo and user report. This is my sales report for Contoso, and you can see there are n number of reports, n number of visuals, right? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run Performance Analyzer. If you already know, Performance Analyzer helps to us to understand what's the time taken by each visual to respond, right, to execute auto render. So once I start Performance Analyzer, what I'll do is I'll refresh all the visuals here, and I would see, okay, these many visuals were rendered, and I can go into each one of them to understand. But sometimes it is not very intuitive, isn't it? So there is a way that I can export my performance analyzer file, which I will say, okay, say performance data, and then, okay, so I will just save it, and that's all. But what DAX Studio can do is give you a better interpretation of your performance metrics. So let's load it up. So I will load the same performance data that I have, a JSON file that I have downloaded. I'll go to downloads and open. Let's see what it gives us. Yeah, perfect. So here I have a better way of looking at all my performance indicators, all my, how much time each of my visuals have taken. So if you see, my visuals are actually named. They have titles, which is one of the best practices that you should follow. Every visual having a separate title so that you can track which visual is performing slow or fast. Right, good. Okay, so if you see, my sales quantity visual is rendering in 58 seconds. The query time is 36. Render time is 22, which is okay. Almost all of my visuals are actually within the limits, which is good. And the matrix is taking a little bit more time, but still I do not worry because these are well under limits. But in case one of your visuals is not performing well, you can always click on the query here. Let me delete everything here. Okay, so I now have an empty one. Now suppose my matrix is not performing well, I can click on the matrix and my query is now in my DAX Studio. What I can do from here is I can run this query n number of times, changing the values that changing the different filters, changing different column names maybe, and checking out which one works well. Right? So this is my development area. This is my play area where I can look at which query, what is responsible for the slowness of a query, which query is performing bad, and what's exactly responsible for that. Not only that, so once your query has run, you can click on the server timings, okay? And let's see what the server timings gives us, right? Now, server timings, and I'm describe a little bit more on the server timings, but let's follow on what we are doing right now. So let's run it again, and let's go. So it has run again, and I go to the server timings. You will see there's hardly any SC CPU because this is a warm cache, right? This has procured from cache, and you see the FE, the formula engine has taken 37 milliseconds, storage engine 3 milliseconds, all good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clear cache and then run. Okay, I'm clearing the cache and then I'll run again and see the server timings again. This time the total time taken is 131 milliseconds, right? So this is my this is coming from my cold cache, and there are different ways to understand that. That's an in-depth topic. We might take it on part 2. I'm very excited for that. So if you see, there are 1099 rows that's actually being called, and each of the queries that's being translated to SQL-like queries, right? So these are called XMSQL, and these are the internal queries which are translated from DAX to XMSQL, right? There are different meanings to it and different ways you can reduce reduce the time. Just a thing to note is storage engine is multi-threaded and formula engine is single-threaded. That means you would like most of your work to be done by storage engine and less work to be done by formula engine. Yeah, right. So we'll deep dive more into it, but don't worry, I will show a few more examples where I compare some of the calculations, like sum x, and show you which one is faster through server timings, right? So server timings helps you to understand suppose I'm changing parameters, which parameters is actually taking lesser time or more time, or which ones is actually running on formula engine, or which one is running more on storage engine, right? Apart from that, let's do one more thing. Okay, so let's clear this space up, and let's click on all queries, right, and go to all queries tab. My all queries tab actually, instead of using performance analyzer to track what are the queries which are getting listed or getting refreshed or getting executed, I can track through all queries. I don't need performance analyzer for this. Note. Let's go to the report now. So my report says sales report. Let's go to sales report 2009, right? The moment I execute this, okay, the moment I execute this, you would see my DAX Studio also has all the queries, right? Let me clear this for you and go back to my report. Go to sales report. Now it's cached, so nothing will be populated in. Let me show you. Okay, it is populated in. So you would see, let's clear it and let's run again. So refresh the visuals. The moment I refresh the visuals, you would see my DAX Studio is actually populated with these many queries. So every time you run it on your Power BI desktop, every time you run the visuals or refresh the visuals in your Power BI desktop, you can live detect it on DAX Studio, right? That way you can also understand, and this is just not for your desktop model. Remember, every time you are running reports on your Power BI service, if your model is connected to DAX Studio on your desktop, you will be able to detect all the queries that you are running. Remember, you have to run the report, not everybody else, right? You have to run the report because it's authenticating through your username, right? Your user ID. Um, Good. What else? Perfect. Let's move to the third part, which is one of the most interesting part, I believe. For that, let's move on to a new report. Let me open the report here. It's not a report, it's just a data model. So, so I have a Contoso data set again. I'll be populating model where I have 10 million rows, and I would be doing some performance tuning on top of it. Okay, let's see how it works out. Do we have any questions? Maybe in the meantime, we can take some questions if that's okay. Do we have any questions? No? Okay, perfect. Let's take it at the end then. Okay, so this is what my DAX, sorry, Power BI model looks like. I have, if you see here, my customer table is, my laptop is a bit slow today. Okay, so my customer table has almost 10 million rows. Oh, this is the order table, sorry. My customer table has almost 1.4 million rows, if you see here. And my order tables has 4 million rows. My order row tables has almost 10 million rows. So I have almost 20 million rows loaded in my model here. Okay, perfect. Now, I will be connecting this model to my DAX Studio again. So I'll open a new connection. Perfect. It's a new page. Let me connect to Contoso. Let's see if this opens in. Let's connect again. So difficult. Am I connecting to the right model? Maybe not. Let's try that again. Okay, updated model. Let's do that. Okay, so let's go to my Contoso updated model. You would see a lot of date tables, local date table. Local date table are the date tables that are automatically created when your Power
Hi,
BI
Swam.
has auto date time intelligence visual in the file section. Let me show that. And I've shown it in my last data model best practices session to switch it off every time. You don't need it. I already have a date table in my model, so I don't need auto date time table, right? So what I'm going to do is disable it and we'll have a look at it again. So auto date time is on. I will switch it off, but before that, let's go back to the DAX Studio. Yeah, this is the one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run some metrics around it. There's an option which is called as view metrics. It gives you detailed information of all the metadata available in your model, in your Power BI model. So when I click on view metrics, it's also called as multi-bank analyzer, and you can export it to analyze in Excel. But I model, right? And you have auto date time intelligence switched on, right? You would have n number of local dates here, which will local date table here, which will actually consume a space and make your data set bulky. The moment we say, okay, my date tables are not anymore showing any hierarchy, I believe. Yeah. Save it. Let's see. Yeah, my date tables are not showing any hierarchy. If you see date, order date. Let's refresh my metrics, right? It's still there, so that means it did not get saved. So yeah, it's working on it. Let's see. In the meantime, I will open another version of DAX Studio.
Hey, hi, Swam. We have few questions. Would you like to take it right now or
Okay,
later?
my laptop is particularly slow today.
I,
So it's
Swam.
not working. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm
do you want
listening.
to
Tell
take
me,
few
Rashmita.
questions? Yeah, do you want to take few questions right now?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect. Sure. Why not?
it's displayed on your screen, Swam.
Oh, the question I see here is where can we find this Contoso updated model? Oh, no, I have just renamed it as Contoso updated model. Contoso dataset is available in Microsoft Samples. I can provide the link for it. Updated model is something which I have updated, and I'll show you how I renamed it. So don't worry about that. It's just the name. It's nothing updated as such. Okay. It's just the name. It's a widely popular data set which you would be able to search as a SQL Server file or a Excel file. I believe you can. It's available quite popularly available in Kaggle too, if you search. Engine versus storage. That's hardly we can manage, or how do I manage it? I don't think you would be able to manage it as such. There is no easy way to manage. It's all about how you write your queries. There are different ways on how you write queries that can specifically utilize more of storage engine rather formula engine. The best practices, using best practices is one of, for example, as if you follow DAX best practices, one of them would be not using filters, rather using keep filters. Sometimes that will lead to usage of storage engine more and formula engine less. So there are various DAX best practices that you can use. Other than that, they are also very much scenario based. Sometimes some of the best practices might not work, but you might have to tune it in a different way, use variables. Maybe depends upon how context are actually provide, how which kind of context you are using in your DAX queries, etc., etc., right? So okay. Do we have another query? What is the limit for visual rendering? I did not get the question. Limit for visual rendering. Um, there is not a very a defined threshold for visual rendering, but are you talking about the time? Are you talking about the number of visuals? I'm not very sure. Some clarity would help.
Yeah, we have another similar question from Ujwal
Ujjwal.
as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, same question.
So what's the limit for visual rendering? Then I would definitely ask for a clarification because it's really not very clear.
Okay, we
Time,
can't.
okay, time. Oh, okay. So the visual rendering, okay, so there is a limit of 225 seconds for visual rendering, which is quite high. If your query does not complete within 225 seconds, the visual times out generally. And I've seen, in my experience, that happens mostly because the DAX is not very performant. So it boils down to how performant the DAX is, the queries, underlying queries, right? Okay, I'll move on to this because I'm going to show some interesting stuff here. Let's move on. So I'm going to connect to another model here, and this time I'm going to connect to original model. I have named it as Contoso 1010 because today is 1010. That's why almost the same amount of data that I had shown earlier, but this time I would show you something different. So let's connect on to the original data set and connect. Okay, we are going to do the same thing. We are going to go to advanced and we are going to say view metrics. Okay, the moment we say view metrics, you would be able to see the amount of data that you have, the number of tables. Let's go to the summary. So we have 337 MB of data here. Note that this is compressed data. Okay, 15 tables, 148 columns, all fine. Let's look at the table section. Now in the table section, I have all my tables, including the local date table, and maybe I it works for me this time because I'm going to do something else too. Um, so my look at my data, customer data. So my order rows is my fact table, just to mention. So this order rows table is my fact table, which has 10 million rows, absolutely fine, and having 100 MB of data, which is also good. And there is some size that it occupies, which is absolutely fine for me because it is a fact. But if you see the customer table, it has only 1.4 million, but it's taking more. more space, right? The size is more. So I see the longitude column is taking this much amount, this much bytes, and street address is taking this much bytes. And I do have dictionary sizes too. Dictionary sizes are the size which which is required to store that information inside engine. The hierarchy size, and it is the encoding is hash. It's a double data type, but street address is string. Now, note that street address is something that I don't need. And that's where the best practices come in. Remove those columns which are not needed, right? Let's remove one of the column here, okay? Yeah. Okay, now I have already removed, and that's where my updated table comes in. So I've already removed in my updated everything is same, but my street address is not here, if you will note. Let's move on. Yeah. So my street address is not here. And if I go back to my DAX Studio, some of it. Okay, so if we go back to my
Please
DAX
zoom your
Studio
screen
and
a bit.
let's do a new connection. Zoom, okay.
Swam, can you please zoom your screen a bit?
Sorry, yes?
Zoom your screen, please,
Yep,
Swam.
let's do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm doing that. Hold on. Yeah, thank you. My laptop is a bit slow today. I'll zoom in the screen. Give me a moment, guys. Trying to open these tables. Okay, let me zoom in my screen. View metrics. Okay. So this is not able to zoom in. Okay. No, not this. Okay, can you see now, or is it any better? It should be better. It
I
zoomed in for
think
me.
better. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. This
good.
is better.
Okay,
This
so
is
you will
better.
see, yes, perfect. So if you see this total size is 17,174 MB here. But if I go back to my updated one where I don't have street address, it is 128 MB. So I don't have street address here. So it's 128 MB. And just to show you the sanctity of the data, come on. I'm trying to zoom in, everybody. Yeah. Okay, good. So if you see the street address is not here, and if you want to see the sanctity of my data, I have 15 tables. I've not changed anything else. So I have 15 tables, 148 columns. In this case, 15 tables, 147 columns without the street address, right? Just reducing one simple column, I have reduced this much amount. So if you see here, go to the summary again, it's 298 MB. Go to summary again, it's 337. Just one column makes that impact. And that's also, it's a street column, right? String column, right? So let's go back and look at what are the other columns we can delete. Maybe we can delete a full middle name, or maybe we can delete company name, or we can delete some of the titles. Remember, every column is occupying some space here. The string columns are taking much more space than your value columns, which is more obvious. So reducing the size, reducing the number of columns, or only importing whatever you need, actually by default reduces your model size and reduces makes your report performant, right? So this is what it is, right? Good. Let's have a look at the columns also. I want to give a little bit more details about it. So if you have look at the column names, the number of rows is 1468, which is 14 lakh 68,000. and cardinality is 14 lakh 47. That means the cardinality is very high, right? Which is okay for longitude because there might be customers belonging to different places. They stay in different places, right? It makes sense. Order key is also fine. I think this is absolutely okay because order key might be one of the relationship um, um, columns. So, and because it's one of the relationship, it also makes sense it's an int. So that's why the use of surrogate keys. Make use of surrogate keys, guys, because the encoding is value and it's much more better stored, right? Street address, I'm looking at my original one, and hence this I've removed this in the updated one. So I have removed a lot of my space, empty dot, a lot of my space, make my model leaner, right? Let's go back to data rows, order rows. Now in my order rows, though it has 10 million, if you see, there are very less number of columns, right? And most of them are decimal or integer, right? Let's go to my orders old table, which is delivery date. Delivery date is date time, and order date is date time. um, Reduce that date time to date, which is one of the best practices. That will also reduce the data uh, occupancy size, right? Look, if you remove the local date table, let's do that if you can. um, do that this time. I hope it works. And this is the last thing we are going to do, and then we are going to look at some of the examples. Let's see if we can reduce size. I think we have done in previous one, so I'll save it. I hope I can close it and do it again. But this takes a long time. This is a huge model. That's fine. We will come back to it. What do you say? Let's open a different kind of example where I show some of the examples of how DAX can be optimized through DAX Studio. I hope this opens okay. Okay, do we have any questions maybe? I can take a couple so that we are not wasting time.
We don't have any questions at the moment, Swam.
Ashmita, do we have anything?
We don't, no, Swam, we don't have any question.
But this, please post your questions if you have any. Brown. So I'll just close. It should open now. Okay, sorry for the delay, guys, but facing some issues with the laptop as usual. Maybe I can just cancel everything. Okay, I think we have it. Okay. Okay, sorry for okay. Come on. DAX Studio. Got it. So we are opening to DAX Studio again and connecting to some of the examples that I have. Okay. What I'm going to do here is let me show you the report first. So let's see how each of the visual works out. Let's go to optimize and performance analyzer and start recording, which is fine because I want to get a granular level control on which visual that I run. Okay. So what I'm going to do is refresh the visuals again. And I have two tables. Okay. Now my two tables are, if you see, deluxe sales, which is sales for deluxe products, and G means good, B means bad. Okay, so I'm going to copy the query and paste into my DAX Studio. Perfect. So this is my bad query. It's also not working fine. This is my bad query. Let's copy the connection again. Go back to another table and copy from my Power BI good query and a bad query for deluxe sales, and now I'll run. Remember the bad query, let me show you again. The bad good deluxe sales uses just the same as deluxe. Perfect. So let's go back to DAX Studio and run this clear cache on run always. Let's go to the server timings. Let's click on server timings and then query tree started, and I will run it now. Okay. Okay. What's happening? Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Let's run it again. So query batch completed. Let's look at the server timings. It's 177 for good query. Let's go to the bad query and check it out. Server timings on, clear cache on run on. Everything's fine. Let's run. What's happening? Yeah. So they're here also 502 rows return. Let's look at the server timings. It is 1740 milliseconds. This is sum x, the query which is using sum x, right? Function. This is the one which is using sum function, 177 milliseconds. Note, right? So such as the difference, you can see how sum x can affect. Now you can look, if you look at the timeline, there are various queries that has coming in, and there's the Gantt chart for each of the query when it is executing. We will go deep dive into this maybe into the next part where I explain what exactly are these queries generated and what to look for red flags, where to look for like red flags, and how to um, change the front formula engine and storage engine usage, right? We'll do that in next session. But if you see, evidently, if in some X only one query has been executed, right? For some, only one query has been executed. For some X, it's an iterative function, and hence it has to go through so many steps, right? That's one of the examples, right? Let's look at another one, maybe. This is the last example we are going to look at. Count versus count rows. That's as simple as that. I'm going to count the number of rows in the table. So this is my two cards. I will copy the query. Let's see. This is my good one. So let me put my good one in this. And this is my that one. Perfect, right? Let's quickly run this. Clear cache on run, and let's look at the server timing. So this is the bad query, which takes 10 milliseconds. This is a good query, which takes 2 milliseconds just to count the number of rows in my sales table, right? So in this way, you can see there are many more examples that I wanted to show. You can detect which measures are taking more time for you, right? After detecting, you can also, do some root cause analysis, and maybe we can deep dive into the next part. Do the root cause analysis, find out which measure is causing the issue, and then tune the measure. Sometimes it's always hit and trial, right? You can do not get correct DAX at one at every time at one shot. I don't. At least I'm not I'm not a DAX person. I'm not good at DAX, I would say. But I know that I have tools that I can work with that can help me, at least figure out where is the problem, which is the slowest measure, which is the which line, which filter, which function is not working well with this query, right? Good. That's all for today's session. Hope it was helpful. We have 3 minutes. I can have questions. Okay. Um, a bit of vague question, maybe. Where should we draw the line in normalizing a model? Star schema can extend indefinitely into lots of dimensions potentially. I agree. You can keep on creating extended snowflake schema, and that can convert into complex galaxy schemas and all. Constellation schemas. All. I think there's eventually a point where you would need to understand what your business KPIs are. Are your is bifurcation of the model into different dimensions, into more dimensions, actually helping your queries or not? A lot of times I've seen, and there are very small examples for adventure works where you can test. I have some test examples too, where I see that if I keep my product hierarchy into a one simple table, it really makes sense for me, and the queries are much more faster. You have to look at the cardinality, you have to look at the number of columns that you are using, and you follow the best practices. Eventually, there is no simple guideline that okay, don't go into a number of dimensions, but I think it's something that you have to understand while you develop and build the report. What's the best practice for working with timestamps in milliseconds? That's not an easy answer. I generally put up in time into a different dimension. Thankfully, I haven't worked much with timestamps. I think that the time part of the day, but I do end up in guiding organizations to just avoid timestamps as much as you can. But if you really want to use, you definitely need to have a different timetable, time dimension.
I think that's about it. I can't
Okay.
see more questions. Yeah. We can
Good.
still wait
Okay.
for like 2 minutes. In the
Yeah.
meantime, yeah. And let's see if we have any more question. But thank you, Swam, for the session, and thank you all
Yeah.
for joining us today. Please visit Microsoft Reactor website for more upcoming sessions, and feel free to use the Learn module link, which I've already shared in the chat section, and right now also you can see on the screen. Please use that Learn module. This will give you access to take your learning further, and we still have like couple of more minutes. So if you have any last minute question, please feel free
I
to
can,
uh, drop your question in the comment
Rashmita, can I
section,
share
or
some links maybe?
sure, please go
Can I
ahead,
share some
share.
links? Yep. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Give me thanks here. Thanks. I will share those links which I have already shown. Maybe that would really help the community.
You have a feedback and a ask. Should we expect a follow-up session on this performance tunic topic? So I'll just display kind of a request come feedback from today's
Yeah.
attendee.
Thank you so much. I would like to, yes, I would like to provide a second part of this because I think I went a little bit fast and we would like to cover a little bit more details on how DAX Studio can help tune some of your queries, right? I would like to have a second part of it, but I'll definitely try to do my best to have a second part. I think that's not a definite answer, but yeah, I'll try my best. Actually trying to share. I'm not able to copy, but is it visible? Is the link visible to everybody that I've shared now?
I am just posting it on behalf of you.
Yep. Thank you so much. Perfect. I think the videos would really help to understand how DAX Studio works. Go through the documentation. That also helps a lot. These are very clear documentation. That's all for today. Thank you so much for your questions.
Thank you, Swam. Thank you, everyone, once again, and enjoy the rest of your day.